Have you ever been shopping, picked something up, and just stared at the price tag wondering, what's the real story here? Well, you'd be surprised. There's a whole world of strategy, a bit of psychology, and a ton of economics packed into that little number. So today, we're going to decode the story behind the price tag.
Okay, let's start with a really simple, everyday example. A store buys a shirt for 10 bucks. They turn around and sell it to you for 25. So, what's up with that $15 difference? Is that all just pure profit? Not quite. In fact, that $15 gap is where the entire world of retail happens.
So let's do exactly that. We're going to follow the money step by step to see how that $10 shirt becomes a $25 purchase.
First things first, we've got to understand how a store comes up with that initial price in the first place. It's not just pulling a number out of thin air, it's a process. And it all starts with something called the markup.
The markup is pretty much the lifeblood of a retail business. It's the amount of money the store adds on top of what they paid for an item, and that extra money, it has to cover everything. We're talking rent, employee salaries, shipping, marketing, and yeah, hopefully leave a little something left over for profit.
Now check this out, because this is where it gets really fascinating. The markup isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. It can vary wildly. A candy bar at the checkout, that might only have a 50% markup, but a piece of clothing, like our shirt, that could be marked up 300%, maybe even more. So why the huge difference? Well, it all boils down to some fundamental economic ideas.
And it starts with the big one, the one we all know, supply and demand. This is the classic balancing act of pretty much all business, right? It's a constant tug of war between how much of something is out there and how badly people want to buy it. If there's a ton of supply, prices usually go down. But if demand is super high, retailers can charge a premium.
And demand itself is kind of tricky. For things we need, like milk or gasoline, demand is inelastic. We'll probably grumble about it, but we'll still buy them if the price creeps up. But for luxuries, think designer clothes, demand is elastic. If the price is too high, we'll just walk away, no problem. A good retailer has to know exactly what kind of demand their product has to price it right. At the end of the day, it all comes down to some surprisingly simple math. You take what the item costs the store, you add the markup, and that equals the selling price. The formula might be basic, but it is the absolute foundation of every single pricing decision that gets made. But here's the thing, setting that initial price is just part one. The real fun, the real science, begins when that product hits the shelves and the store has to react to what the market does. Which brings us to a question I know you've wondered about. We've all seen it, a giant 70% off sign in a store window. Why on earth would they discount something so much? I mean, are they actually losing money on it? Well, sometimes, yeah, they are. But it's all part of a much bigger game plan. That game plan is called a markdown, and it's not just about getting rid of old inventory. A product that's just sitting there, not selling, is taking up precious real estate on the shelf. That space could be used for a hot new item that will sell. So sometimes taking a small loss on an old item is totally worth it to free up that space for a winner.
Now, to make these kinds of decisions without going out of business, a company needs to know its absolute floor, the lowest possible price they can go. That's called the break-even point. It's that magic number where you're not making a dime, but you're not losing one either. Zero profit, zero loss.
And yep, you guessed it, there's a formula for that too. By figuring out their fixed costs, things like rent that don't change, and their variable costs for each item, they can calculate exactly how many things they need to sell at a certain price just to cover their bills. And let me tell you, this isn't just a classroom exercise. Getting this number right is crucial for survival. So we've gone from looking at a single shirt to the whole inventory. Now let's zoom out one last time and look at how a business reads its overall financial scoreboard. To get that big picture view, businesses rely on two super important documents. You can think of them like a doctor's report for the company's financial health, giving them all the data they need to see how they're really doing. Those two reports are the income statement and the balance sheet. And here's the easiest way to remember the difference. An income statement is like a movie. It shows you the company's performance over a period of time, like a month or a whole year. A balance sheet, on the other hand, is like a photograph. It's a snapshot of the company's finances at one single moment in time. You really need both to see the full story. So, when you put all this together, the art of the markup, the science of the markdown, and how to read the financial scoreboard, you've basically just gained a new superpower. It's like you've got retail X-ray vision. And if you take just one thing away from all of this today, let it be this quote right here. Revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. It's easy to be impressed by a company that makes millions in sales, right? But that's just vanity. What really matters for long-term health and survival is what's left over after all the bills are paid. That's sanity.
So the next time you're out and you pick something up, you'll see that price tag in a whole new light. You'll know it's not just a random number. It's the final chapter in a long story of costs, strategy, and risk. The only question left is, what story are you going to see?